Today I'm going to go over some of the questions in I-6 and I-7 as you are working on that project this Friday and next week Monday to get that completed. But the one thing I want to look at is as you look at I-6 is it's really important that you look at the scale. So when you look at the scale of these and you're trying to pick these 2 points, so the 2 points that we picked, the key thing is what is our rise? And so if we are going from this point, which I would say if we are taking a look at that is probably in the middle there as we look at 20 and 30. So you're going 30 and you're going up. And as we go up 30 and we go over to that point, we're going up from 30 to 60. So if we look at the change in y, this is our change in y, that's going to be 30. Remember when you find slope, one of the first things you have to do is find the change in y divided by change in x. So now you should be able, if you didn't do this correctly, find that change in x as you go from the 2 points that they kind of have right on the line for you. Those are the points you want to use. So you want to make sure you're doing that in questions 1, 2, 3. Once you get the slope, then you kind of want to identify what is your B point. Your B, remember, is your y-intercept. That's kind of nice. It's that point right when x is 0. And then you are writing an equation in the form of y equals m. You will get that number, x, plus your b. And that's when it asks you to write an equation. That's what you are looking at in all of these. Here they get into some, is it a correlation? And then as you are solving. So once you get the equation in number 6 and you come up with your equation, once you get that y equals, that's what you're going to use down here. So once you have y equals, you'll have your x plus your number. Then down here, you're going to use that same equation, but now you know that x is equal to 6. You're going to write this same equation that was up here. You're going to write that here, and then you're going to replace the x if we are looking at that. So now you're going to take that x and you're going to put in 6. So wherever in that equation, wherever you would have had y equals, and you would have had the x, you're now going to put in the 6 plus that other number so that you can solve that. You're going to do, this one's just a little different. This one is telling you, so make sure you're keeping in mind that this is always x and y when you graph. So here, what you know is that y is equal to 4. And in this case, our 4 hits. So in that same equation, this time you're going to replace the y with 4. Here you replace the x with 6. Now you replace the y with 4 and you're solving the equation. So as you look at the I-7, I-7 is to be done Friday and Monday's class. One of the first things you're always going to do is you're going to take a ruler and you are going to be drawing your line of best fit. Now there can be many lines that people come up with. So like this might be the first person's line. The next person might have made it more like this. Someone else might have taken a line and said, you know, I think if I'm looking at this, the line of best fit goes like this. And I will tell you that this correlation is not very strong as we are looking at it. It's pretty weak. So when you're asked that question, is it weak or strong? So there are many answers that people can get. So positive, linear, nonlinear, it definitely looks linear. It's just pretty weak. And then you're going to try and come up with your equation. So again, when you do the equations, you're going to answer the questions. When you write your equation, equations, if it's linear, are in the form of y equals your slope times x plus a number. Again, how do you find slope? Slope is the change in y divided by your change in x. The y-intercept is when you find that number, it's when x is 0 on the graph, it's that value. So when you look at your graph, a lot of times here they're telling you the 0. So it just depends on which line you're using. You'll use your line and your equations will all be just a little different. As you go to that next problem, the next problem says you have oil changes and you're looking at, when you graph these, it is always x and y. Make sure you put labels. As you do that last one, they already gave you the labels. This is your x, This was your y. So in this one, you have to make the graph and put your labels. You have to set the scale. And my hint would be that as you're doing this scale, you probably want to go by, notice our numbers are in the hundreds, so 0, you got 150 on your y. So your y's, you need to make sure it can go up to 700 is your biggest one. So if you go 50, 100, 150, 200, you can decide if you go up by hundreds. But I think you could go up by 50s, and then you should be able to do this also. So again, here, we're going to graph it. I would suggest find the slope of this first, because you need that. That's your m when you go to write the equation, plus your y-intercept. So that's this question down here. So you may, after you graph, draw your line. You may want to do question 3 and 4 before number 2, or they all kind of go together. Then you are asked, what does it mean in terms of the problem? So make sure you're taking a look at that. Here you're going to do some predicting repairs for the cost. So when you predict the cost, this is when you're going to use x equals. And in this case, we're going to predict when x equals 4, and you're going to use that equation again. So whatever equation you wrote here, you're going to write that same equation in both of these places. It's just in the first one, you're going to replace the x right here with 4, and in the second one, you're going to replace the y with 430. So you will write your equation, and then here you would have replaced 430 equals blank x plus whatever you got for that equation. Then you're going to solve it for x. Here, you're going to write that same equation, but when you do this one, you're going to put y equals, and you're going to replace this with 4 and tell me what y equals. You will also have to do this on the test for this unit, so it's great if you're practicing this. There is no answer key in the back. We'll check it in class Friday, or Monday, excuse me, Monday. So the same thing with this next one. This is your x, this is your y, x down here, and your y. Put the points, draw with your ruler, line of best fit, tell the correlation, and you're going to do that for each of these questions as you go through. So this one, you're going to look at the weight as you are doing it, and this is your y. That's one ordered pair. Then you're kind of, maybe you want to use colored pencils, and you want to use this is your x and this is your y. So if I was graphing the blue point, I'm graphing 88, 66. Whereas when I'm graphing that red point, the weight with the usual dosage, that's going to be 88, 40. So just make sure you're graphing two different sets of points. So you're going to have one line and then another line as you look at those. So you should be able to figure out your rate of change as you are looking at those. And then the last one deals with bird eggs and their size and the length and width. And I don't think right now I have that one up here, but as you are doing that last one with the size of bird eggs, as you do that one, the size of bird eggs would be the total or the label on your graph or your graph as you're making it. And my hint would be that as you look at this, for your information, you're going to have the width over here. That's going to be your y. And as you make that, your x is going to be your length in millimeters. Good luck on this activity. You're going to have Friday's class and Monday to work on it. If you have questions, please make sure you come in either before school from 8 before period 1 or stop in an advisory.